Aloha Free Press.
So in our community in urban Washington County, and especially in Aloha, we have a lot of really special parks, green spaces, natural areas, and a lot of the trees that we see in those areas are actually our native Oregon ash. And so when the emerald ash borer comes through our area, we're going to lose a lot of these very unique and special trees. In Aloha, there's not very many big trees left. A lot of them were cleared out for farming, especially in these flat areas. And we just are really worried because some of our last remaining trees, especially in this green space, are ash trees. And so we're just not seeing a lot of extra big trees here. Trees take a little while to grow, as we know. And so when the emerald ash borer comes through, what we don't want is the sudden everything dies at once, right? We really want a gradual transition. And so what we're doing right now in this green space is we're actually planting the next generation of trees. We're trying really hard to help this community and many other natural areas and parks and green spaces in urban Washington County start thinking about when the ash are gone, and they will eventually die because of this beetle being so devastating. We want to have some trees that are big and ready to replace those ash. It's really important right now that folks become aware and look out their door and say, okay, what are these trees? What species of tree do I have on my property or in my neighborhood where I live? And we really want to help them understand now, identify those ash, make a partnership, get a relationship with an arborist, because that arborist is then going to help you understand it's really important to take action before the tree is infested, because once you get canopy dieback or it's a dead standing tree, it's much more expensive to remove it. It becomes very dangerous. So during a windstorm, that dead standing ash tree could fall on a car, it could fall in the street, it could fall on a power line. We really want to avoid that situation. So it's smart just to understand if you have ash on your property or where you manage, or even where you go to school, where you go to church, where you go to, work. Understand, are there ash in my community that I want to be thinking about and helping make a plan so that you can work with an arborist to either treat that tree or you can remove it and replace it with something else, especially when they're small diameter. It's not a bad idea to maybe think of removing that tree proactively and replacing it with something else. So in Aloha, because we're unincorporated, it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge to come together and think through what we can do, because we won't have the same resources like maybe someone in a larger municipality would have. And so it's good to work with other organizations, Washington County, Tree Keepers of Washington County, the Soil and Water Conservation District. We can help people brainstorm and think through what their solutions are. There are a lot of resources. There's outreach materials. I think in Aloha, it's going to be important to really come together and just start being a little bit more proactive. Some of that DIY mentality, I think, is going to be important, because with the tools and the outreach information, you can do a lot on your own now. So we're at Hazeldale Park. This is in Aloha. This is a large linear park that follows a little creek here. And we are looking at a very common situation in Washington County. We've got a lot of streams. The main stem Tualatin River is fully lined with ash. The most common tree on the Tualatin River is Oregon ash. And so just like this little creek here in Aloha, you can imagine what it's going to look like when all these trees are dead. We're going to lose shade. We're going to lose wildlife habitat.
I mean, as you can see, my kids love this bike trail in this park, so it's a real shame to see that we're going to have to come through and replace the trees, because it creates a lot of shade, a beautiful canopy, and I know a lot of people enjoy this walk. I see regulars on this walk every day, same people doing bike rides, walks, and all sorts of things, so it's a real bummer to have that happen here.
We're so lucky to have caught it now, because what it does is it sends out the mapping team and they say, okay, we're gonna draw a perimeter around Hazeldale Park. And it's so helpful, because then on a map, it starts to become more real, because we now have a big circle around Hazeldale Park and it goes out 1 mile. And if you're in that 1 mile zone, it is like, it's here. We could just assume that the next summer, maybe in 2 summers, you'll detect the ash tree on your property is probably already infested. So it really helps us kind of portray the severity of this to the community. Start thinking about this, start making a plan, because it's now.